so I have 3 kids, and I've been married for 14 years, so I breed well in captivity.
Somebody told me something once that I think about all the time, even though I did get filthy rich from comedy. But this person said, sometimes you get a choice between being successful and being great.
Okay, enough of that. Let's just get her in. Leon, you did it. Do you want to introduce her? Did you?
Absolutely. So, Michael, we're very honoured to have a very special guest, a much-loved celebrity that's much-loved worldwide, has millions of fans, and she really needs no introduction. So she's an award-winning actress, comedian, a best-selling author. She's won 4 Emmy Awards and countless other accolades, and she was actually a presidential candidate in 2012. And she's obviously best known for a hit show, Roseanne, and playing the lead character, Roseanne Connor, where a lot of people, especially a lot of Australians, can relate to. To that long list, I just want to add that she's also a human rights activist. So she's not just most celebrities just virtue signal. She actually has spent many decades talking about real issues that matter. So very honored and would like to welcome Roseanne Barr.
Hi.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm going to put you up at the top here.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very honored.
Well, I'm honored to be asked to be here. Thank you.
We've been interviewing people like.
I'd like to say I want to give all my Australian fans a big kiss down under.
Yeah, do it. You have so many here. I mean, we've been interviewing people for a while, but say my father is in his 80s, he doesn't know any of them. And then he said, "Who are you interviewing next?" I said, "Roseanne Barr." He's going, "You're kidding me." So
is she still alive? That's what he said.
No, he didn't. He didn't. There's I've been researching you all night, and I know it's really interesting on Google. It's literally like your life before being cancelled doesn't exist. It's really hard to find stuff. They've just basically gone from there.
They've erased me. They think they have.
They think they have. And I'm just wondering, you wrote this comment, or you said this comment, laughter is a way for the individual to make the world right again. And you came back with your hit show and you had 28 million people tuning in. Do you think that those people in power saw you as just too dangerous? They don't want the world to be made right again by Roseanne?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Plus, they hated my audience. They hate me and they hate them, and that's obvious. But I mean, they called them deplorable and everything else, and called for their extermination. One of the members of the Bruce Springsteen, who I used to love, his band, called for the extermination of people who vote for working class rights, which is voting for Trump. And I think that just says it all.
And Roseanne, can I ask you, you spent decades speaking about human rights issues, and whereas a lot of celebrities, I mean, they virtue signals. There's an obvious difference between virtue signaling and talking about issues that matter, but you're actually, I believe you're risking your own life. So by challenging the powers that be. So my question to you is, why do it?
I don't feel I'm risking my own life. I feel like I'm risking my soul not to. So that's my choice. So I have no choice, really.
The other thing you said was, and we said in the start, we got a choice to be famous or to be great. Before you started this, and I've been watching your first stand-ups on Johnny Carson, was there ever a point where you realized, wow, I've come from Utah, surrounded by Mormons, a Jewish girl, car accident, all these things that should have just basically taken you out. Did you ever reach a moment where you thought, I have an extraordinary life ahead of me if I grasp it?
Yeah, I always had that yearning. And then when I got famous, to go back to that quote, you get a choice between being famous and great, but when they come together, you're infamous. And so when I became very famous, I was excited because I knew that was my first step toward being great. And I do feel that my work, not so much me, I think I'm pretty cool, but I feel that
Very
my
good.
work has been great. It's entered just a great thing that I don't see anybody else doing,
No,
and I don't think they'll ever touch me. And so, of course, that's threatening to
there's
flash.
without a doubt, you're a comic genius. I mean,
You
without
know what I said? I told you every time somebody
yeah, go
called me
ahead.
a genius, every single time somebody called me a genius, right after that, I'd get screwed up the butt with no grease. So I'm very, I'm wary of being called a genius. But when it's somebody who's very smart and aware, like yourself, I thank you.
Oh, it's. I grew up working class. I mean, I for a period of my time I was growing up in caravans, and stuff
Mhm.
like this. So when you came out, you were like nothing we'd seen on TV, especially from
Mm.
America. We
Yeah.
hadn't seen this. We'd seen them do parodies of working class people with things where they made us out to be dumb, but
Mhm.
we'd never seen reality. We never seen houses that were messy like our houses were messy, and we'd never seen people who weren't perfect. And that's what Roseanne was. Roseanne was not perfect. You said it yourself. She lies, she schemes, but at the same time, she's got
Yeah.
this heart. It was revolutionary.
Yeah, it was. I used to watch television as a girl and wonder why I didn't see anybody like my family. And from a real young age, I was like, man, if I ever get on that TV, I'm gonna do a real show about a real mom, not a the menu for television moms was pretty limited, and I wanted
Mm,
to break that open, and I did.
you did. You did. And that gives you great power, though, because you get this great fan base who relates to you. That you're not just making them laugh, you're actually like becoming a folk hero, which is reality, what you are.
Well, it just is very cool when I go anywhere, really, for now 30 some years, people will come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, you were my second mom," or some say, "You were my mom. I didn't have a mom,"
Mm.
or some would say, "You were just like my mom," or some would say, "My mom wasn't very nice, so I look to you to be my mom." And you can imagine I take that really deeply, and uh, I feel a responsibility to that. I don't just think, "Oh, boy, am I great." That flatters my ego. I take that to a soul level, and I feel, like have I have a responsibility to be true to that. And also because I can't do nothing else.
The other thing too is, as an artist, some artists reach a point of success and then just rest on their laurels. That's it. I'm just going to do this. It's working. I'm going to do it. But you push. And I saw it in an interview where you said you were meeting, I think, the mayor of Jerusalem or something. And you said, don't say it, just take the act. But you couldn't, because you had to push. And you
Yeah.
asked him about, why can't the Arabs share this?
I
Is
said,
that
"Well,
in you?
why can't all of us just share this?" I didn't
Yeah.
mean the Arabs, but I meant everyone. And
But
you know, I think about those things a lot. So you know, I'm pretty Jewish. I always say I'm a Jewy Jew, and I think about those philosophical points about if not now, when. And also, I've always thought if you are given the opportunity and you're standing before some place that no other woman or man really is ever going to be in that position again, then you have to do it for the sake of all the people who can't.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. You've got great power, but that comes with great responsibility too. And you reached great power by pushing boundaries.
I
So
did.
once you've
I
got
did,
there,
and I still do.
that's right.
And I also take the punishment. I've always taken the punishment for it because, when you push boundaries and break boundaries, people might, some people who romanticize an artist's life or whatever, they think, oh, and then she broke that boundary and everyone loved her, but it's not like that. It's like, and then you were punished. You were severely punished. They push you till you break, or they want to get you to take your life. They want you to end it and end your life. And that's really it. And every time you break a boundary, there's severe mental and emotional and economic punishment for doing each of those things. And still, I just, something's wrong with me, I guess.
Roseanne, you seem very defiant and courageous. They've tried to cancel you many, many times, and you've actually recently just completed a successful comeback stand-up, which was aired on Fox Nation, called Roseanne Barr, Cancel This. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And how that...
It's pronounced more like cancel this.
And that's in the context of you obviously responding. That's your response to cancel culture, the dominant cancel culture of the day.
Yeah, and I was really excited to do that. It took me 4 years, but 4 years of thinking. But I feel like I cancel culture itself. I shot through the heart of the beast in that special. I destroyed it, and I'm proud of having done that because it deserves to go.
And you said something hilarious.
What?
You said in the tour I saw on Tucker Carlson, you said that you got cancelled all because you misgendered, racially misgendered someone you thought was a white woman.
Yeah, I racially misgendered Valerie Jarrett, and of course they all go for it's how they pick through to find the how some people will pick through a pile to find a pearl. They'll pick through a pile to find a turd because that's their talent, is to find the turd. And so they picked through this huge pile of references that I made to find the word ape, which was in the title of the movie I referenced, Planet of the Apes. And, I captioned a picture that showed Valerie Jarrett next to a character in that movie. And it's hilarious because they look exactly alike. And she looked very light-skinned in the picture. And, so she looked, anyway, it's not my fault. She looks just like that character. So anyway, and it just happened to be that I saw, it was prescient because I could see into the future that that's where America was headed. And at the end of that movie, after the mass lockups, arrests, and silencing of the human beings by the elitists, by the other species, really, elitist and fascists that lock everybody up and say what you can say, what you can't say, until people are, it's illegal for people to speak. In fact, the rulers, they don't even think people can speak in that movie. And they beat them down. It shows them beating people down, and they're dressed just like our police forces in major cities are today. But then you remember at the end of the movie, they find out that they're in New York, and there's the Statue of Liberty lying broken on the shore. So it was a movie. To me, I was always very into that movie because I saw that was what was going to come to America. And it was coming really, really fast. In fact, I could see it coming from, since 9/11. And so there I was at the height of my popularity. My show was #1 and blah, blah. And I had just done a show about Muslim neighbors and how everybody's a human being and we have to treat everybody like a human being and forget what their labels are about, which has always been the message of my show. And so I thought, because the reason I tweeted it is because what was happening in Iran to the women of Iran, because of Valerie.
Which no
Jarrett.
one speaks about.
No, they were not allowed to, but because of Valerie Jarrett's Muslim Brotherhood deal with Iran. It was, and in Egypt too, all about knocking out the middle class. And so now, I saw that was what was going to come to America, and that was what that tweet was about. But they saw the word ape, and because they are so racist themselves, they projected onto me that I said Black people look like apes, which I was assuming she was a Persian woman, an Iranian woman, because she was born there. And, I racially misgendered her and apologized for it about 300 times, but they never accept apologies, fascists. But anyway, they
wouldn't accept your apology because they
wouldn't accept that I said on the phone.
They wanted you gone.
They wouldn't accept that I said I thought she was white. And let me explain that. And no, they would not let me explain that because they were after Trump. And so, I've kept all of their clippings that they went to the news with, because everything that was calling me a racist, the very next day after I explained to them that I thought she was white, they canceled my show 20 minutes later, Disney. And then immediately began calling me a racist, and it all traces back, all of it, to ABC, where I was working and made them #1. So afterward, they said it was Valerie Jarrett who said in a clipping, Trump set the tone to make it comfortable for Roseanne to say such racist things. So I realized, and also with several lawyers that I'm talking to and have been for 4 years, they already had it planned to get rid of me. They did not like, they quote, one of my spies told me that in the writing room, somebody who turned on me said, I'm afraid she's humanizing Trump voters.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was another get Trump, and it was just before the 2018 midterms, and which is why I went back, because I thought it's time for the American people to hear their own voices reflected back at them on the television, instead of being told they're idiots and don't know how to vote, and are clinging stupidly to their guns and their Bibles and all that other crap they throw out there, all that propaganda. To destroy the working class people of every race, color, and nationality across the world, as well as the middle class too, because they're a strange bunch of commies. They're kind of like anti-commies, because communists, how they always want to redistribute the wealth, but they always talk about they want to go take it away from the top and send it to the bottom. But these curious communists, they want to redistribute the wealth from the bottom to the top. Isn't that strange? But anyway, so they already had it all worked out and planned, and it was like one person called somebody, and she called somebody, and she called somebody, and I was gone and being called a racist daily for weeks.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Calling my tweet, which said Muslim Brotherhood plus the movie Planet of the Apes, if they had a baby, that philosophy would be the same as Valerie Jarrett's Iran deal. That's what it means. But
You know
at
what's
the time, I was like, Christ, how are you going to go on and explain that to anybody? Nobody even knows what they're doing. Americans have no idea what we do to other countries, and they don't care.
just going to say too to anyone watching, this is live. Rosanna's live. If you have any questions for Roseanne, sorry, just come in. But do you remember when Obama was running, they attacked him for things that his grandmother said, and he actually got on and said, my grandmother says outrageous things. She doesn't like Jews. She doesn't like this. She says these things, but she's my grandmother. What can I do? I'm not going to cast her out of my life. And yet, and then it comes round full circle to you, and this is a way to get rid of you. So it's all bullshit, But just before we get there, I have to admit,
they wanted to steal a very successful 30-plus year franchise too. So
that's right. That's right. But you've been contacted, or not contacted, mentioned by 3 presidents. President Bush.
Uh-huh.
That's extraordinary. President Bush, Obama really is even from the sidelines, and then President Trump.
And the Clintons too. But here's what's here. You want to hear a really humdinger one? I sang with Tony Bennett at the Hollywood Bowl for 4 United States presidents. After that, I butchered the Star Spangled Banner. Can you believe that? I still can't believe that I did that, and it was amazing.
Why did you do that? Because there was stuff behind it. You said you were trying to celebrate, or you wanted to talk about freedom and not the symbols of freedom.
Yeah, I mean, I started too high as the shortcut of I'm not a singer, and I could sing it pretty good, but I didn't understand key very well. And the night before, I had been on Johnny Carson's show, and I told him I was going to do it, and he said, well, be very careful of the key. Don't start too high, because Bob Goulet, this guy who did it real badly too, he said, Robert Goulet, he started too high, and that just was the worst thing that ever happened. So don't start too high, whatever you do. I go, thank you, Mr. Carson. So, of course, I go out there. They don't give me any pitch or any note, and, so I start way too high. And about 5 notes into it, I'm like, oh, Christ, I'm never going to make that note. So I'm like, I'll just try to, make it funny. But now when I watch it, even though it's the worst singing in the world, it's actually still good, because that land of the free, I'm actually on the note, even though I had to break my throat to get there. But I was on the note, so I don't feel so bad. But had I started about an octave lower, I think people would have been surprised at how well I actually can sing. I have a number of children's songs out on YouTube called Rockin' with Roseanne, where I sing children's songs, and I actually sing pretty good, so people should check that out if they want to.
But going back to Johnny Carson, when you were backstage and realized you were going on first to the Johnny Carson show, that must have been quite a moment from where you'd actually started your life.
Yeah.
And to get there, I mean, that's, what was it like? How did you handle the nerves of actually, okay, I'm on Johnny Carson.
God, I always say now, I wish they would have had, your adult diapers back in the day. I would have had a much more relaxed performance, but they did not have adult diapers then. And unfortunately, I had to do what I had to do. And I knew I was going to go to the bathroom as soon as I went a step on stage, because I've always had that problem since I was a little girl. And well, why am I even going into this? But yeah, I was very scared and nervous, and so blah, blah. But thank God I had practiced enough. It had been 6 years of stand-up at that point, and I knew I had gone in front of every kind of audience you could go in front of, sometimes getting booed off. And I actually had performed in a mosh pit at a punk rock club. So I'd been in jazz clubs. I'd been, in jails. I'd been, I went everywhere to make sure my stuff worked before I came out to Hollywood. So I knew I was going to do well because I
Oh,
had.
so you knew, you had the confidence that you were.
I was
But this,
confident in my material. I was not confident at all in my bladder nor my nerves.
but just, and I do want to get to the modern world and the globalists because this is what we talk. But I'm just really interested in the journey it takes. Because so many people don't achieve what they feel they could achieve, and literally, you had everything against you, and yet
Yeah.
you're in America, and the America we grew up with, which said if you work hard and dream big, you don't know where you can reach. And you're proof of that.
Yes, I am.
Proof.
That's why I love this country and why I, go the extra mile, even though it puts me in precarious positions at times, because I don't want to lose it. I don't want it to disappear. I like to do things for the right reason, and I believe that if you do the right thing for the right reason at the right time, the whole world will respond.
One way or
And
another.
I've always acted that way. I've always acted with that philosophy in mind. And I have never shied from that. And I've always seen the result, and it's always been good. It's never been bad. I mean,
But as
in
a
the
stand-up comedian, as a stand-up comedian, surely you're built or designed to live in precarious situations. That's where we want our greatest stand-up comedians to really bring up truths that we don't want to hear about and see and actually make sense of the ridiculous situations, as you said, because at the moment, the world is ridiculous. We've got men dressed as women on Bud Light, and Bud Light's going down the gurgler. We've got a president. Your president at the moment is, one minute he's a dementia patient looking for soup and wondering where he put his false teeth. The next minute he's getting ready to blow up the world. I mean, we live in an extraordinary
Sounds about
world,
right.
and your job is to be someone who just says it like it is. Do you feel the weight of that power?
Yeah.
Of that responsibility?
Yeah, I do. I have very sleepless nights. And I always put it like it's like God, he'll come in there in my head, he'll go, "Hey, Roseanne, I want you to do something." I'm like, "Can't you get somebody else? Can't you find somebody else for a change?" Every time I do what you are putting in my mind, it don't work out so good for me. Go get somebody that people will listen to and, that they like or something. Why don't you do that? He's like, "No, it's got to be you." I'm like, hell, well, I'll do it. And so I do.
Roseanne, there seems to be a double standard. Just going back to the Valerie Jarrett incident.
Huh?
And by the way, there seems to be a double standard. I hope you can hear me. You apologized many times for that incident. And here we have, on the other hand, we have Whoopi Goldberg, who said something derogatory about the Holocaust and about Jews. And she apologized.
With the name, and she is not a Jew. And she culturally appropriated our names and our culture and used it, and then said nasty stuff like that. But here's what I say to that when people ask me that, and why she was given 2 weeks off in Barbados or someplace. Because she's being used, and I can't be used. I mean, I can only be used by, God and my higher conscience, which is connected to him. So I can't be used by stupid asses in suits. I can't let idiots win. And I easily identify an idiot from about 500 yards. I don't know. I've always been that way. I can see them, and I just can't let them win.
There's a guy called Stewart somewhere, and he said in this hit piece on you that he said, "Oh, she can't be controlled."
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's what I love about her. But do you
Exactly.
think that is also why they had to cancel you? Because they can't control you, you know, they want famous people who they can control.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, but they never, but I mean, the fact that they couldn't control me gave them a #1 show with records they hadn't seen with numbers they hadn't seen in 15 years. And what I
Yeah.
wondered is how come that didn't matter to the shareholders? And they
Interesting.
my show before even one sponsor pulled out. And I thought, well, isn't that weird that they would sabotage and, their own shareholders like that, and nobody would complain. But then you see like Bud Light and all these other corporations sabotaging their shareholders too. So I kind of think something else is going on that we don't know about. And I always think it's is it an insurance scam that they destroy their shareholders? Is it so they, I mean, you just follow the money. It's always a money thing. It's always a scam on working people's retirement and benefits. It's nothing more than that. Wherever there's a pile of money, they just go there and steal it. That's all that they do.
because they had with the new Roseanne, there was $9 billion worth of advertising revenue. $9 billion.
Wow.
But their shareholders didn't care, I guess, because they're like, oh, well, we like losing money. We don't have to, feed our families or, make a profit. We hate Trump that much. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
No, it
I
doesn't make any
wonder about, always wonder about who are those shareholders, and why did they also say nothing all those years about Harvey Weinstein, those same shareholders? I don't know. You tell me. I think the devil has control of everybody. I don't blame people. I don't
agree.
think any human being is my enemy. I think they're just misled, they're being used. But it's a big old force, and it's in charge right
Well, the
now.
devil
Well,
hates the truth, and
oh yeah.
your unadulterated truth, which is why I'm so glad you went live today. I just got to hear Megan Patricia, who probably didn't wake up this morning thinking she was going to be able to ask Roseanne a question. But do you have difficulty trusting people and letting them into your inner circle now?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I don't trust nobody. And I hardly do. I hardly trusted anybody before this happened to me, but now I trust them even less. And well, they've all showed themselves to me. That's one good thing. Like, I think that's one good thing that's going on in America too is, hey, let them show themselves. Let them identify themselves. Don't correct them when they use the wrong words. Just let them be so other people can see them too. As soon as you correct them, they can hide better. So just let them be. And I forgot the question already.
Oh, do you hate trust
Oh
people?
yeah,
But
I
here,
hate everybody. I hate them all. Don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I know the devil's in them, and I hate the devil even more than before.
Another interesting question from Jacqueline and Natalie. So, what was your coping mechanism during all the slander that you endured, Roseanne?
My conversations with God. That's always how I have gotten through everything in my life. I have I'm very lucky that I have a, whatever you call it, connection there. And I don't want to say faith because that's a overused, meaningless word to me. But I have a connection, a living connection, and I fall into it and it catches me, and it's a real soft, loving pillow, and it nurses me back, and it makes me see good things. It always makes me look at the good things, and because I have that, I see the works of intelligence and beauty and people's inextinguishable spirit to live and do right. It makes me see that, and helps me to know that all of that other stuff is just illusion and it doesn't matter. And things happen for a reason. And now I look back and I'm like, God took me out of there. I didn't belong there. And he saved me by taking me out of there, because there was a lot of dark energy there. Now, I don't do well around dark energy. I'm not creative in dark energy spaces, around dark people. I'm not real creative around them because they're no fun. And you got to have fun when you're creating something, when you're thinking of things or writing or drawing or anything that I like to do. It's fun. That's why I do it. I don't do it because it's morose and pisses me off and makes me angry. Who wants any of that? Those are the negative things that make you get really ugly and wrinkled. And I look great, don't I? I'm 70.
You do. There's actually a meme out at the moment that shows your face next to Madonna's face.
Oh, I saw that.
You see that one? I love it. Yeah. But can I ask, a lot of people want to be famous, want to be rich to this, and you've come from poverty to wealth, and you actually say that wealth is better.
Oh, hell yeah.
How do you manage with all that incredible fame, which it's such a rare thing for so many people to experience, to hold on to yourself? Because it must be basically a hurricane of things going around you, with people wanting to meet you, press things. It's how do you manage to stay you and sane?
Well, a lot of people would say I'm not sane. There used to be a saying that I can't remember her name, but she's a great comic, Pat. Oh, I can't remember anybody's name anymore, but she said there's insane and outsane. And I like that. But I just hold on to what's, deep inside me. That I guess you could call it, people say that still small voice that's like, in there going, this is the right thing. This is the right thing to do. This is what people you admire would have done. That, I want to be on the right team and with the right people, even if they're.
So you followed an inner voice all your life then? You followed an inner voice all your life then?
Yeah, which I call it God, but it's a higher. Yeah. It's much higher than me or any person. It's a consciousness of everything. Everything is all one big, beautiful thing.
Well, I just got this question here from a woman called Queenie Queen. Now she wants to say she loves you, big fan. You'll never lose her as a fan. But she was a social worker who, on another Facebook page with a false name, put a quote, "Only women give birth." And after 13 or 15 years, something like that, at the job, she was sacked immediately. Wow. Even though it wasn't this. This is where so she was cancelled in her own way, but it was drastic to her life. This is where we're living in now. Do you think we're living in this McCarthy era now, where they're basically yeah, you do?
It's worse than McCarthyism, though, but it is the very same thing. It's Nazism.
Yeah.
It's burning books, banning speakers, beating speakers up in the street at universities. Yeah.
how do you, being in America now, because we've always looked to America. America is, well, look, it's the greatest country that's ever existed when it comes to freedom. It's always had issues. It's always had problems, slavery, violence, all these other things. But it's always like
But that's
clutched
only
onto
one way.
freedom.
That's a writer I love. She calls that the foreground reality, which is, the propaganda reality that we're fed every day. But the background, the real deep background, is America is the place where America ended slavery. So just sit with that for a minute.
Yeah.
I can't remember the ship. Oh my God, I used to know this off the tip of my head. Spielberg made a movie about it, but
where the slaves escaped.
yeah,
and
they
took over the
sued
ship.
United
Starts
States.
with an A, Amtrak
Yeah.
or something.
Not
Yeah.
Amtrak, but yeah, it starts with an A. But they sued the United States government and they won.
Yeah, that's right.
America ended slavery and fought a revolution.
Amistad.
The Amistad. To do that. So, this is a way of looking at the world, a background way and a foreground way. And the foreground way is all bullshit and propaganda. And people are very deeply addicted to bullshit. I said that in my 2012 campaign. They're so addicted to bullshit that they'd rather have that than food or sunshine, because that's what propaganda does to people. They can't think, they can't reason, they can't use their critical thinking skills because they know the answer first, and then they make all the data come out to their answer. And that's anti-science. And that's what it is. It's anti-science, anti-intellectualism, anti-freedom, anti-free speech, and all those things together, and plus a voracious need to cause war all over the world. That's Nazism, and it's based on eugenics, and it's based on, the hatred of the working class, and particularly people of color within that working class. That's who, we have to be aware of in our country.
It's interesting. I think it's interesting that they went from cancelling ideas and cancelling you to actually cancelling people. And we ended up with a situation where we had jab mandates and people were cancelled for not complying.
That's exactly right. I say, I don't think they just canceled me. They canceled about 26 million viewers of me, because they ended up still having that, the reworked show they took from me. They got 2 million viewers. So they canceled 26 million viewers from their network. And a lot of people tell me every day, they write me that they will never go to their amusement parks either because of what they did to me. And that's taken a downturn, and so are their movies. And I'm like, hey, was it worth it? The shareholders, they don't, corporate shareholders, that's a whole interesting thing to be looked at, because I don't even know if they really do exist or if they really are people.
Yeah.
They might
go broke.
be fake. It might just be fake.
How do you think? I mean, you're looking at the world from a different platform than the rest of us. How do you think we can go forward and reestablish freedoms? I mean, get our freedoms back, because in this country we don't have freedoms anymore. We gave them away. They gave them back. They gave us privileges. Australia as a democracy is dead. That's the truth.
Is. I know.
It's hard. It's upsetting to hear you say it, but it's the truth. I mean, we've had armored vehicles in the streets.
I know you have.
Shooting us. I got shot by rubber bullets just for defending freedom, the freedom of choice, freedom of speech. And I'm not alone. There's loads of us. And in Melbourne, particularly, it seems to be a testing ground. New Zealand. How do we move forward from your perspective? What do you think is what we have to do as a people to get back to a world where liberty is the foundation?
Well, when you say get back to, I don't know that we ever had it really. Not really.
That's a good point.
Another writer that I love, she said, well, there is no liberty without truth. So did
Powerful.
we in fact ever have liberty? But I'm telling you this, it is a real estate problem for people who are listening. It's a real estate problem. And the most important real estate that you have to immediately take control of, because you do own it, although they have told you that you don't, and they've showed you a million different ways that you don't. The most important real estate in the world is between your ears. Now, you need to reclaim that real estate, sweep it up, clean it out, whatever doesn't serve you, whatever doesn't make you happy and make your life work, get rid of it as fast as you can. Don't sweep it under the rug, because then it stays right in your house. Get rid of it, air it out, and just like use your mind as a screen door. Let ideas come in and let them go out. Let it air itself out. Don't cling to any idea. Just let them come in and come out. Don't believe or grasp on anything. Just let them come in and let them go out. Just see it as if it's a screen, a movie screen that you're watching. Your thoughts, because a lot of them aren't even your thoughts.
Wow. Can I ask, what were you like as a little girl? Were you always cracking your parents up? Were you quiet? Were you different from this? Or were you pretty much just a little mini version of who you are now?
I was trying not to get beat. And yeah, I was always doing everything wrong. I don't know. I have every kind of thing you can imagine. ADHD, dyslexia, I got everything. And, always peeing myself. You can imagine. I was a kind of a creep, and a nerd. I didn't like people, and I had a lot of trauma. And in my family, if you could make my dad and mom laugh, then you didn't get hit. So I was just always trying to get, I better make up a joke for that, or I'm going to get my ass beat, So I had to turn everything into a joke. So it kind of trained me. And
Wow.
but when I was at school, I never even talked. I felt so out of place and so paranoid of people around me.
Is
I
that because you were in a Mormon community and you were Jewish, or you just didn't fit in for other reasons?
Yeah, part of it was cultural, because I grew up in an apartment house full of survivors from Germany, Jewish.
Wow.
And my grandparents had sponsored them to come over after the war, and they lived in their apartment house. And so that was very traumatic. But also the neighbors, they didn't like Jews so much. And they were all pretty Mormon and religious, and they didn't like that so much. So I just was really quiet, and I was always in my head. You know what I mean? I was always in my head. Like I always would draw or write, and I stay in my room and have fantasies of what it was going to be like when I was a famous actress or comedian or something. All of my childhood was about getting on TV and doing what I did. I
And do you,
visualized myself doing it too, always.
how much of that do you think was manifesting a dream which came true, and how much do you think was actual destiny? Because I've read about other people like Napoleon and other people like that who knew they had significant lives ahead. So
I
how
knew
much
at
do you think?
3. I knew at 3 because I had a vision at 3 after something severely traumatic, and I had a vision, and the voice in my head that came from this vision, the voice I heard, it said, you're going to survive. You're going to be okay. You're going to grow up. and you're
Is this
gonna.
a car accident?
No, that was when I was 15. This is
Okay.
when I was 3. And it said, you're going to, someday you'll have an answer to every question that's in your mind right now, and I'll always be there with you. And then I knew from that day forward, I was never alone, and I was always in that place, always, and I still am there.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's weird. I know. People
So
are like,
Shona says, what can you do to influence Hollywood elites on an individual person level? Can you turn any of them around? Like Sean Penn. I used to love Sean Penn, but now he wants me arrested and vaccinated against my will. So I'm not watching any more of his
He's an
films.
interesting character, that guy.
a lot of people who are, well, I pray for them all the time. I don't want to be in their circle physically at all, because atoms are alive, and I don't want to breathe in any of them. But I do pray for them always on the internet, and I say you have the opportunity to rejoin the human race. All you have to do is like look deeply within, and be honest, and redeem yourself for what you've done wrong, and everyone will immediately accept you back after you make restitution for the harm you've caused to innocent children in this world. And I just pray that if you have any sparks of soul in you, that they'll be ignited by hearing this prayer, and that you'll come back to us. Otherwise, you're just going to disappear. And they don't usually want to think of themselves as just disappearing, because they have big egos, but they're just being used. And like I say, a lot of them aren't even human. A lot of them are just apparitions. Actors, a lot of them, there's nothing there but somebody who can imitate and pretend. So there's not a lot of depth of soul in actors. And that's why they're so easily led by propaganda and by, people who can control them through blackmail because of the horrible things they do. That people, once they get famous, they think, now I can do what I really want to do. And they can. And they think there's no price for it, but there is. The price is the death of your own soul, but they don't seem to mind that too much, do they?
Roseanne, this is really interesting. I wanted to ask you this because obviously you're privy to a lot of information the average person isn't privy to. And you spoke about the Hollywood celebrities, turning them around. You spoke about dark energy. Is this all have a connection to MKultra? I know that you spent many decades speaking about MKultra and Monarch programming. So when you say that they're controlled, is there a connection to that?
Oh, absolutely. Our whole country, as well as yours, all the Five Eye countries are under deep MKultra mind control, which they have been since World War II and beyond that, way back into the midst of the mind control that has been used on people, particularly on women.
And
Do you think
speaking
this
of
is
that,
why? Sorry, Leon. Go ahead, Leon.
I just wanted to ask, this weird stuff happening in Hollywood, like Nicki Minaj, for example, and Beyonce Knowles. They claim that they have alter egos. Then you had that weird incident with Al Roker, went viral, an NBC report on the Today Show where he just froze for 17 seconds. Now, when Nicki Minaj and Beyonce Knowles claim that they have alter egos, are they just fooling around, or is there something? Are they playing a practical joke on people, or is there something more to it?
No, it's called dissociation, and that's what MKultra causes. It makes you say one thing and do another. It splits your consciousness because you're being fed a diet of intellectual lies by the hour, over and over and over, 24 hours a day. And so, it splits your intelligence, and it splits your soul, and it splits your emotions, and it splits everything in you. And that's called dissociation. So when they say alter ego, they mean another part that they step into or step away from. I have experience with dissociation, so I know what it is, and all of America is under it. It's just staggering. And they are weaponizing people who have it too, because people who have body dysmorphia, transgender people, they are also dissociative, although they deny it. But I had transgender issues as a child, and so I know what I'm talking about. But they're weaponizing mental illness to use those people. They're using those people, as cannon fodder. And just like they're using all the working class youth as cannon fodder to go out in the street and, fight. And they think they're protected. But, like I always say, they're going to bring back the draft, and that's who's going to go to the Ukraine. And I think that was why I sent my tweet, was to try to wake those young people up as to how they were being used and targeted, and particularly those with broken families.
I just going back to one thing. You said you were growing up in one of your stand-up routines. You said how you used to live in a caravan or a trailer park, and then you were on Roseanne, and you were back again living in a caravan.
Yeah, like when you act in a movie, that's all you do is like just sit in a trailer all day long, which is what my life was like when I was poor. So I don't enjoy that.
No, but I'm saying, do you ever get a moment where that moment hits you? I know you use it in comedy, but the moment profoundly hits you on how far you can travel in one short lifespan?
It most certainly does. It has this week, definitely. I've been unpacking all the stuff I've squirreled away because I'm kind of a what do you call it? Where you save all the
hoarder?
stuff. Yeah, and I am unpacking stuff from 30 years now, and I'm looking at it, and I found my old writing and things I had written as an original stand-up thing, as my original 5 minutes of stand-up back in 1979. And
Wow.
it was staggering. It was just staggering and then, fast forward through other things, speeches I've
Staggering in what way? Like it was making you laugh, or how far you changed?
just what a long, strange trip it's been, to quote the great
Yeah.
Fred. But I found speeches that I've given all over the world, and it's just staggering that I did all that. Just amazing. I don't know. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah, it's been incredible. But right here, right now, you've done all of that, and now you're a champion for freedom, able to use all your reputation, your integrity. And do you think this is like maybe what they've done by canceling you? They've actually recreated you
Yeah.
as this freedom fighter, because that must have been an extraordinary difficult situation to go through. I mean, a lot of us have been cancelled over
Especially
here, but
when
not
they
you.
killed my character,
Yeah,
because I felt like they were sending a message to me that I should kill myself.
yeah,
And
Wow.
because the people who were doing it were people that I thought loved me.
must
So
have
it
been
was
hard.
really deep and horrible. It's the worst thing ever. And my sister died a year ago, my baby sister, and it was like that. It was like losing a family, and it was just, on the heels of feeling that I had made such a great contribution to, or that I had created this show where it was about love and acceptance, and and that's what they did. They didn't.
Yeah,
My boyfriend says, "Well, you brought people together, and that was the worst thing you could have possibly done, because that destroys fundraising."
the other thing was, it was like it was like visiting another family. It became, that's how close, how lovely the show was. You felt you almost were part of the family, especially working class, because you related so well. You know what I mean? I think
I
that's
just
when
had to
people
let
talk
it all
about you.
go. I had to just let it all go. And it's taken, 4 years to let it go, to do this new stand-up show, to just go like, you guys, man, you better wake up as fast as you can, because you don't want to wake up in the middle of a real nightmare. You want to wake up before it gets that way, when you can do something about it.
Well, down here, we say we're in totalitarian kindergarten. We're heading into primary school, but we don't seem to be able to stop it. The whole upper echelon, the doctors, the churches were all closed. The politicians are still selling this shit. Now they're wanting to knock, it just seems crazy. But down on the ground level, the people still seem sane. We have these gatherings of like-minded people and have these great conversations, becoming like brothers and sisters. It's a really
Yeah,
beautiful thing. Over
it is
here, we
beautiful.
really feel it's a spiritual battle going on.
It
Absolutely. Is that what
It
it's like in the
definitely is
States?
a spiritual battle, definitely. And the truth of it is that that side has already lost. We just haven't been completely notified of their loss as yet, but I feel it. So I should tell everybody they've lost, and they're skidding to a stop, and the skid's going to go on for a little bit, but not much longer. And they destroyed themselves. We didn't have to really do anything. We gave them everything they wanted, and they destroyed themselves. That's how lucky we are, because like something that's so evil and horrible, it has to feed on um, good. And after it's eaten all the good and there's nothing left to eat, it still needs to feed. So what does it do? It begins to eat its own tail. It has to eat itself. It has to feed. And so it feeds on itself and does us all a favor. And when it's gone, we'll come back out and we'll be better than we ever were. So, like I say, take back this real estate and develop the eyes to see that, because it's plain as day. It's plain as day.
And Roseanne, speaking of that, the mind, you being real estate, and speaking about the globalists and the elitists, you've been quite vocal about Yuval Noah Harari. I watched the MLK show, and you were quite passionate about his speaking about him. He seems like a Poindexter, like a mummy's boy. He doesn't seem threatening. He just seems like a guy that stays in his mother's basement. Why should the average person care about him and his views? It just seems like he's ranting endlessly. And
Well,
why are you so passionate about denouncing?
he actually says a lot of really deep and thought provoking things. And I look at him like I look at people who are on the same road as him, and it's like they have some good deep things to say, but they're not connected. And he doesn't know how to go and plug into source. So it's cool that he did all those he thought a lot of those things out for us, the ones of us who will remain, and then sees the means of production in every single level. So we'll be able to access some of his thoughts. Of course, we'll turn them around and use them for good and for the betterment of the plight of children all over this world, which is not what he intends. But we can pluck pearls out of anywhere. When we hear a good idea and it's perverted or corrupt at the end, we can still take something from it. So you can tell when somebody's connected to the right source, because it is all about source. And when somebody's not connected to the life-loving source, but instead they're connected to the death-loving source, you can just see it. And they're not all that smart, because all they did was take something that was life-loving and reverse it. They couldn't have came up with it on their own because they are, you know, in Jewish scripture it says that they, here's the word ape again. It says that they ape the souls. They run after the souls to ape them, you know, to copy them, to monkey mind them, because they can't create anything themselves. They can only copy or steal or appropriate. So that's on our side too. We who are connected to life-loving source, we can create. And that is what will allow us to continue when they can't.
There's someone just asked, would you be bringing your comedy special to Australia? Like, would you tour Australia with it?
Well, you know, I would love to, but you got to get the jab to go anywhere. I'm not getting the fucking jab. Fuck that.
Actually, I think they changed the rules.
They've
Really?
changed the rules here. You don't need it here.
But
You
you have
actually
to
need it
come
to get
here.
into the States. We can't go to the States.
Really?
But yeah. Or
Well-
some places we can. Florida, I think we can, but we can't go. We can't go to New York.
I thought you couldn't go to Australia if you weren't vaccinated.
So now you
No,
have
I
no
think they
excuse,
do.
Roseanne. You have to come here.
Well, I've always wanted to go over there. I mean, that's
You are beloved
place.
over here. You're beloved.
You've never been to
there'll be
Australia?
a few woke people.
No, I always wanted to go. Well, first of all, it's like 24 hours or something by plane, which Jesus, I don't know if I could take that. I'd know they'd sit me next to some fucking crying kid with green snot in his nose. And, you know, that always happens to me on a plane. The parents are always behind me with 2 kids on their laps screaming with snots. And then they got another kid that, you know, they buy a seat for next to me every time. So I know I'm going to get sick and I have to babysit some little shit when I'm trying to get away from fucking kids, you know. And I can't be mean to them. So I'm like, you know, hey, don't do that. Okay. But so I end up having to sit with them for hours. I know I'd probably get stuck with 2 brats running with noses going on Australia. I said, why does it fall to me to have
I think some of the plane would be more scared of your mouth than they would be of the kids.
I have that in my act. Hey, ladies, you're such shit mothers anymore. You're all on your phone all day, ignoring your kids at the supermarket. Why is it falling to me to have to be the one to go over and smack your kids for you?
Do you know what's really interesting? Over here, when Roseanne was out, people could speak freely. You'd go to jobs, you'd work in whatever jobs you got, staff room. Our language was the language of you. We had an Aussie accent, but our humor, that's why we connected so well. It's why you were so beloved, you know. Now, though, it's silence.
People. They hate our guts. They want to get rid of.
They do.
They're like, hey, we're giving you 15 jabs and 10 boosters right in your fucking eyeball because we love you.
Yeah. And then what I'm saying, though, now it's silence.
But this is how stupid they are. They want to get rid of the people who do all their fucking work for them. That's how stupid they are.
Yeah.
It's like, not like they're going to clean their own fucking house or raise their own goddamn brats. You know what I mean? It's not like they're going to do any fucking work. But
well, over here now, we have nurses cleaning houses because the nurses who worked through the pandemic, and we're doing interviewing more today. We interview them all the time. And they don't want to take the jab, even though they worked through the pandemic. So they got sacked as being basically gross misconduct. And now they clean houses, they pick fruit. Where instead of doing what they should be doing, which is caring for us, is their calling, you know. And Australia is now silent.
Over in Hawaii and here too, you know, in LA and stuff all over the place. I noticed a lot of people are cleaning houses because, by God, they're making $40 an hour. That's a damn good job. These women are going to make them $40 an hour cleaning somebody's house. And I mean, that's good money. It really is.
I don't know what they get paid here,
Not
but what I'm
anymore.
saying is Australia now is so politically correct that most people's default is silence. They're not sure who they're going to offend, so they stay silent. So the era we grew up in with you, where people would feel free to we call it taking the piss out of everything, using humor, exactly like what you said, to make the world right again. We're not doing that anymore, and our world seems insane.
Don't
We
you got any
really.
comics down there?
Well, we've got a few. I interviewed one this morning. We've got a few, but I think if a powerhouse like you came down, I think you'd fill venues, and it would
Absolutely.
really be. In fact, some venues probably would cancel you before you came, but I think you'd actually really would. I think it'd be a revolutionary
Sold out
tour.
shows.
I think it'd be sold out, and it'd actually be a revolution of actually attacking the woke culture over here and liberating people.
Well,
I really
the one thing they hate is comedy or anything funny. And then
That's
the
right.
worst thing to them is to laugh at themselves, which, fascists, two things fascists don't like is laughing at themselves and dialogue.
Yeah.
So,
You mentioned.
and also it is that comedy is a free speech art form. And also, as my boyfriend says, and I think he's quoting someone, I don't want to be wrong, but he says everything is put together with words, and words can take it all apart.
Yeah.
That's why you got to get control of this, so that when you hear words that ain't words, you got to learn to not hear them. You have to learn to hear actual words. Because they tell you right what they're doing with their reverse, their perverse reverse. Like when there's a lot of words like fidelity and trust in the title, that means you're getting fucked. You just gotta learn the right words. You know what I mean?
The opposite.
They do it.
It's always the opposite.
When the owners of the world speak, like George Carlin said, it's a big club and you and me, we ain't in it. And the people who are allowed to speak are in it, and you ain't. So when they're talking about us and this and that, they mean when you're dead.
Yeah, that's right.
We will, take your house and everything you got, and you'll be happy about it because you'll be with God. You'll be deader than a goddamn doornail, and you'll be happy for that. That's what they mean.
Yeah, I know. It's quite obvious what's happening, and I think a lot of the people above us believe they're a part of the elite. So, because there's a police officer over here who told me he was trying to get policemen to stand up against what was happening, and they actually said to him, in the new Australia, there's going to be oppressors and the oppressed. Better to be an oppressor. And so obviously this cop believes he's a part of the elite, which he's not. He's not. He's just going to be a tool for them to use, and they'll crush him as long as they'll crush anyone else,
Yeah, people who buy in, man. I mean, that's the bullshit they are addicted to.
You said something interesting, Roseanne, ties in with our conversation on Tucker Carlson. You said the people that have an inability to laugh at themselves are dangerous people.
Yeah, they are. I mean, that's a puckered up person. I mean, you got to laugh at yourself first before you laugh at any other person. That's like when I see a lot of comics and they're just laughing at everybody else. We call that punching down. That ain't funny. It's all got to be laughing at yourself and making other people laugh at themselves through laughing at you. Otherwise, it just ain't funny.
Yeah.
All that sneering shit, that ain't funny. At least to me. It doesn't move me. When I see people laughing when they don't want to laugh, that I get the biggest charge out of that. Christ, that's a great feeling.
Can I say there's a one of the other things you said in these videos I watched last night was you didn't like rehearsing a lot with Roseanne because you wanted it rough. You wanted it edgy, which,
yeah, I didn't want
to. That was really brave.
Yeah, I didn't. I wanted it to be, you know, like comedy is. It's like, it's got to sound like you're just thinking of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't be like, and then what did he say? That cheeseball shit. No, I just don't think it's funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be like, hey, here's one. You know, that's how I lived my childhood. Oh no, I better come up with something right now. Oh, my dad's coming on. You know, it's got to be.
How have you changed? And now, I mean, looking forward now, you've got, I mean, you must have tons of opportunities open to you to do, but as you're going forward now, you're hopeful for your country and for humanity as we move forward. I know you've said things about success, but it really is a big fight coming on.
It's a big, big fight coming on. It's been a big fight for a long time though. And, you know, we just want people to wake up and stop feeding the monster. Stop. You know, it feeds on your fear. So every time you're afraid, you're making it bigger. You got to laugh it to scorn. That's how it disappears.
How did you handle your fear? Because early on, before you started all this, like your first stand-up routine you ever did, there must have been fear then. Johnny Carson, like you said, was fear. Even coming on to the set to do your first Roseanne. How did you cope with fear? Why did you not give into it? Instead, push through it and create the life you created for yourself?
In my life, I was lucky enough to always hear a saying that made my hairs on my body stand up because it went in so deep, you know. And one thing I heard that helped me a lot was I heard somebody say, feel the fear. Feel the fear and then do it anyway. So I looked at it as, you know, it was my enemy, it was the devil. And I was going to do it anyway because I have God and nothing's more powerful than God. So the fear, I look at it, everything like the enemy. The enemy wants me silent. The enemy wants you silent. The enemy wants us to collude in our own destruction. The enemy wants us stupid and silly and weak and fearful. So we can feel all those things because that's what he's putting on us, and that is reality. We can feel it, but we have to do it anyway.
So the fear is the work of the devil stopping you or trying to stop you from reaching who you're supposed to be.
Reaching, you know, if you have a feeling, a lot of people don't, I guess. But if you have a feeling that you were put here to do something, to make something better, even for just one person, even if it's just you, if you have that drive, that connection, that feeling that you have something to offer in this world toward life and living and goodness, then you can't let that be stomped out of you. You have a responsibility to the children of the future to make it manifest. You have to. You can't let that be taken. You can't let darkness gather. And you have the ability not to. If it's handed to you and it's in front of you, then you have to. Otherwise, you'll just float away. You'll dissipate.
Ask her a question, Leon. I'm in awe at the moment, so I'm just going to be here for a bit and I'll come back.
Just out of interest, Roseanne, as I said before, you're privy to a lot of information the average person isn't privy to. Did you see this whole vaccine agenda coming many years in advance? Is it something that you predicted would eventuate?
Well, I saw it coming with the AIDS thing. I saw they were doing it then. I saw they were, you know, but this government, I mean, like I say in my stand-up, remember this government gave smallpox infected blankets to the native people. This government experimented on people in jail in Tuskegee on Black citizens. It sterilized women in the South, Black women in the South. Look what this government has done. It went into Iraq. It poisoned our own soldiers in Vietnam with Agent Orange. Look what they've done. Look what they do. It's the evil people in our government that we keep on, we never hold them to account. And now part of why we're going through all this is because we never cared enough to stop them. We never did, and now it came home, and that's what happens.
Came back to bite us.
Yeah, all of
our apathy and indifference.
And fear, because we were just, a bunch of fucking pussies. What the hell's wrong with us? We have nothing to fear. I mean, the worst they can do to us is kill us. So what? Somebody else will show up.
Wow. I'm out of questions. I'm just in awe at the moment. It's and the reason I'm in awe is I really couldn't sleep last night thinking I'm going to meet this person who's been in my life. Like, if my dad knows her name, what is she actually like as a person? And is she completely different from the Roseanne we see on this? And then spending time researching you and actually really, that's why I don't say the word genius lightly. It's just very rarely I call people out for that. I really don't. And just seeing what you've managed to achieve by following your inner voice, not stopping, believing in yourself, basically, like you say, overriding your fears. And then we meet you here today, and you're so humble and lovely. It's joyous. I'm so glad you went live. People hear it.
Old bag.
What's that?
In real life, I'm a bitter old bag, but I do enjoy myself. I really do. I like it when I get a good shot in on behalf of little kids, especially. Oh my God, that makes me happy.
Oh, someone here is just getting upset that I didn't ask you a question, so I'll just go back and find it while they're doing that, and then they're still upset, they're still pissed off.
What
I can't see it. I don't know. Here. Do you think the COVID pandemic was designed to weaken people so they wouldn't have the strength to question what was about to come? It seems very strange how some of my critically minded friends on Facebook have become so ignorant now.
That's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, I think it's planned because they patented it in 2008. They patented the shot. So yeah, they did pre-plan it. They had it all rolled out. I think it was to steal the election in 2020. That's why I think they did it. So they could get votes by mail and dump truckloads of fake ballots everywhere. So they could interfere with the free elections for the American people, so that the American people, their votes would be nullified, particularly the votes of Black Americans, because the people who own our country and the world, they don't like Black people at all, even though they pretend like they do, but they don't. And they really don't like them when they're working class and when they're young, because, they really don't like that. They like to lock them up when they're young, and then they can do prison labor for corporations in jail at 14 cents an hour. In privatized prisons that a lot of judges own, stock in.
The whole industry.
Yeah. The prison, military, pharma, industrial complex. But yeah, they planned it all. They're not stupid. They have it all planned out. Look at UN Agenda 2030. They have it all planned out for depopulating the people who do all the work. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. I say in the end, it's going to be people who can grow a tomato are going to become the new billionaires.
So you're suggesting that President Biden isn't the most popular president in the history of America?
Well, I don't think that is President Biden. Did you see that thing the other day where he's
with the mask?
Yeah.
The mask.
Yeah, they show that guy they say is the actor that's wearing the mask. And some say it was James Woods for a while. But I think we're just watching a movie. I think we're just watching a
Feels
show.
like it.
And
Yeah.
because we're under such heavy mind control, we couldn't take the truth. And if we saw the truth, we go fleeing for our lives and go insane. So I think out of kindness, the people who are making the world right and getting rid of the satanic element, they're showing us a movie to slowly bring us out, like they do to prisoners of war and people who have been kidnapped by cults, and they slowly bring you out with facts, and they're just showing us a movie to do that. But I know what's on the other side of it, and I do see it as something really, really great is about to happen this year.
Well, the other
And that
last
includes y'all down under.
the other last question I have is, I believe people are very powerful if they want to be, and you're proof of that. You're proof of how powerful one person can be.
Absolutely.
Why do you think so many people feel powerless, and what can they do from your journey, the lessons you've learned from your journey, to actually release their power or unleash it and help change the world for a better place, to create a better place?
Well, you feel helpless because that's the reality you're being fed by your owners. They're scared shitless of you, though, because there's billions of you and only about 2,500 of them. So of course they're scared. Of course they're scared, and they're losing control, and they're trying to step up all their control things. But like I say, it's failing, and they don't have a lot to feed on besides their own selves. And that's what's happening. They're destroying themselves, and we don't really have to do anything but witness for the sake of history. But what you can do is, I'm not kidding, our greatest weapon that we have to fight is laughter and joy. Those are the two things that they know nothing about. Plus the human spirit they know nothing about. They know nothing about connection. They know nothing about the desire to share, which is the greatest feeling in the world, one of them. And they know nothing about the human spirit and joy or laughter. So those are because they know nothing about those things, exercise those things every day, and you'll find yourself coming more and more into a state of awareness, because that's what it really is all about, being aware.
Well, Leon, that's all my
comedy is so powerful because it's like Dr. Marshall, that guy, he's really a great doctor, speaking all over now, and he said comedy is fifth column warfare. And I thanked him for telling me that, and I agree. Comedy is just the most powerful thing, because while you're laughing, all the things in your brain that are bullshit devised fall away. And you need to do a lot of laughing. And if you can laugh the more you can laugh at your government and your leaders, the happier you're going to be. Laugh at everybody you're afraid of every day.
That's great advice. I am out of questions. I want to thank you for your
question
time.
for last, Roseanne.
Huh?
Yeah, I'll let Leon go.
I've got the best question for us. Maybe we'll get a world first exclusive in Kofy locked out. Are you going to run for president again?
It came in my head today. I'm always like, well, I declared myself president for life in 2012 when I ran against Obama, and the people's president. And so there was a question on Twitter, and I wasn't thinking of it or nothing, but a question came on Twitter, and it said, if Trump doesn't run, because Trump, I wanted to say, Trump is not a Republican. That's the whole mind control of the way they do us with this dualistic bullshit. Because there's only one party, as my friend Gore Vidal once said, and that's the money party. So Trump is not a Republican and he's not a Democrat. He's the third thing. He's a populist. And that's why I ran in 2012 on that same thing. Solutions and fixing problems, not politics. So anyway, it said on Twitter, if Trump is not the candidate, who do you suggest? And I wanted to write my own name in because I thought if they take him down, then I'm going to step up because there's nobody else. Trump already is employing so many of the things that I talked about in my 2012 candidacy, such as auditing the Federal Reserve, getting our own currency, all these things that you're seeing happening slowly, and a lot of people don't see it, but that is where we're going. And the outline of obsolete war and coming into another kind of way of solving problems in the world, and the end of slavery and trafficking and all those kind of things is what I ran on, and nobody else is talking like that. So if they do, and but I don't think they can take him down, but if they do destroy the leader of the working classes, then of course I have to step up and run. I don't know if any of these people are smart enough to elect me. They failed the first time, but I got to make myself available and leave it to God, because somebody's got to do it. So I might as well, if there's nobody else.
I want to point out as well, you hosted a variety show in the late 90s. You actually interviewed President Trump, and that was a really fascinating interview, and I encourage our viewers to look that up and watch it.
I had an interview with him and Michael Moore, and we discussed which is better, socialism or capitalism. And I have to say, Trump won hands down that debate. He was a genius in that debate. And I said, you ought to run for president. And that was 1998.
Wow.
He's a great
Incredible.
man. He's a good friend. And, he also knows that, if not now, when.
I think huge amounts of people would vote for you, because I think anyone now who speaks the truth, whether it be even insulting or not, just has the admiration of the people, because people are sick of bullshit, and we live in a bullshit world.
We
They have
sure
a hunger for truth.
I hope people are full up to the gills with the bullshit and really, but the thing is, like, they don't want us to know that we can do better.
That's right.
But we can easily. Everything's in place too. Everything is in place. All it takes is the right person with the right intellect, for the right reason, with the other right people at the right time. That's all that's lacking.
Well, there's one country in the world where a poor Jewish girl can rise up and become the president of the country. It's America. It's the United States.
Well,
so you're in the right place at the right time.
I really sincerely and hopefully pray that America continues to stand, because the world needs
the world needs a strong America.
The world needs America, and I'll tell you why. Because we have individual rights guaranteed by law here. And I don't want them to take that from us.
Because we don't
recognize God in your instant constitution.
We thought we had that, but we don't. We have a word in our constitution, absolute rights, and the Supreme Court did like 12 pages or something, or 250 pages, where the judges argued that absolute doesn't mean absolute. I don't know what it does mean, because it sounds to me like it means absolute, but our rights have been squashed. So America is the hope.
You have to get into the people withdrawing their consent to be governed by those people. That's the next option if this don't work. And they're doing it in France.
Yeah, they are. It's a revolution there. They're standing up. Yeah. And we had big movements here. We had huge marches. We had 1 million people in Canberra. People came from all over Australia, thousands of kilometers. Like, to come to Canberra It's the same as, say, driving from Texas to New York, just to be a part of a movement of saying we want freedom. And there's no way that amount of Australians would come all that way for a booster. They came there for freedom. And so we do have fight within us yet. We're not a beaten people, but we're just stunned because our leaders, who are our brothers and sisters, who've always sort of had our back to a degree,
No, they're not.
That contract is broken now completely.
They got paid off.
They got paid off. They're bought off. They're probably blackmailed, and they've left the human beings behind. So no, they're not. We probably need more councils than we do leaders. We don't need leaders. They all suck. We need councils of people, of neighborhoods, of communities where we agree, beforehand, and we stick to it. No one person is invested with absolute power, because it never works. It won't work.
Yeah.
That's what representational government's supposed to work. But even that don't work when you get a bunch of whores that are paid by lobby money. That's what's happening here. None of them represent. They say they're public servants, but they better get out of the servant business, because they don't know shit about being a servant.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Wow. What a way to wake up this morning, huh?
Well, I'm going to bed as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, okay. I'm heading off to a country tour. Thank you so much for coming on, Roseanne.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Don't give up. Not now. Not when we're this close to winning. And you'll be seeing it. You'll see the proof of it as the days go by real quick. Just get the eyes to see it.
Say that to Australia. You heard it from Roseanne.
That's who I'm saying it to. That is who I'm saying it to.
Thank you for an incredible interview.
Australia, I ain't got nothing invested in lying, nobody. But I'm telling you, Australia, hang on just a little bit longer.
And please come visit us. Even if you're going to be stuck with two snot-nosed kids on the plane for 24 hours, it's going to be worth it. Trust me. We would love to have you here on our shores.
You're a sweetie. Thank you, honey. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate your time. Such an honor. Thank you.
And I'm going to end with one of your Johnny Carson. For everyone, this is 5 minutes of Roseanne doing stand-up. I think it was the third time you're on Johnny Carson.
Oh.
And it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. So enjoy this. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute joy to meet you.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Johnny Carson discovered me, made me the huge international megastar that I am now. I used to live in a trailer, okay? And it was really awful, so I worked really hard to get out of there and everything, So now I make TV and movies. What do I do all day? I sit in a trailer. In case you didn't figure that out, but it's kind of true, I don't know. This place is like no place in the whole wide world. People out here, well, they ain't like people where I come from, I try to fit in. I try to go to them Hollywood parties and everything, but they ain't like no party I ever went to, Like I spent the first hour wandering around this great big old house looking for the keg. To the host or hostess, whatever, and I go, hey, man, where's the keg, man? They go, well, there is no keg, Roseanne. Whoa, you're out of beer already? Whoa, well, gee. I'll make the run, you buy, I'll fly. Those parties is interested in having any kind of fun either. They're only there to like kiss the butt of the most famous person in the room, which is always me. And you know how you are when everybody's giving giving you all kinds of attention. You're like, please leave me alone, please, you know. And so then somebody more famous comes in, they all desert me, you know, somebody like Chuck Woolery or something, you know. Then I'm all lonely. Come back, remember me, remember me, remember me, I'm famous, remember? Remember I sang the national anthem and everybody got really, really mad? Yes, that was one of the happiest moments of my life, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so proud to have shared it all with you. A great Prozac moment. Thank you so very much. You know it's bad when the President of the United States comes out and says your act sucks. You know that. Of course, you know I'm so mad at that little pin-headed wimp George Bush for saying that about me anyway. But I do like his wife. I do like Miss Bush. She way outclassed her husband, don't you think? Yeah, I like her because she's just like a regular down-home gal, Mrs. Bush. You know, you could just see her sitting there on her front porch with her nylons rolled up under her knee, you know, or in that rocking chair waiting for the meatloaf to be done, you know, fanning herself between the legs, you know. You can just see her doing that. Just like them old ladies do. But anyway, so here's what happened to me and how I became a comic, you know, and everything like that. Like I was having this one regular day, because I used to be a housewife, although I preferred domestic goddess, you know. So I'm sitting there in the house this one day, and I'm doing this regular housewife stuff like, you know, dusting the pot roast, cooking the curtains, you know, scouring out that tub with a non-abrasive cleaner, the whole deal. All of a sudden, I just have like this major reality alert, you know what I mean? Like, I go, oh my God, I says. I love being a wife, I love being a mom, but I need something more. Like perhaps a life. So I wait for my husband to come home. He comes home 5:15 like he's done every single day since the birth of the universe, you know. I says, hi, honey, you pencil neck geek. I said, you ever look in the mirror and notice you have a weak and characterless chin, huh? Did you, huh? So he gives me that typically intuitive male response. Gosh, it seems like you're not happy, Roseanne. Yeah, I'm 2 days past happy. And then he goes on with that husband stuff, you know how they do. Well, maybe it's that time of the month, Roseanne. Yeah, it's that time of the month. Yeah, right. You better stand back, honey, because it's a full moon and you're looking at high tide. Well, I hope you like impressions. Johnny did a great impression of Willie Nelson, and now I would like to give you my impression of Miss Barbara Streisand. I think she is very talented and seems like a nice person. Well, that's the impression I get. So anyway. Well, I'm fat, so it's good that I'm fat, because fat moms are better than skinny moms, as you know. Way better, because what do you want when you're really depressed? You know, some skinny mom, well, why don't you jog around a while, and that'll release adrenaline in your blood, and you'll better cope with stress. Or some fat mom, well, let's have pudding, Oreos, and marshmallows. When you wake up from that sugar coma, it'll be a brand new week. But me and my husband, we're on a diet now. We're on the mirror diet. Have you heard of this? It really, really works, okay? You eat all your food in front of a mirror in the nude. It really works, you know. Of course, some of these fancier restaurants don't go for it. Anyway, so I'm remarried, but it's amazing how much just like my first husband, my second husband is. I think, you know, they're all the same guy sometimes. I don't know. Like all husbands, all guys, they think that the woman knows where everything is, don't they? They think you know where everything is. Where's my keys? Where's my wallet? Where's my underwear? Where did I leave my shirt? Where's, you know, everything in the world? You know, they think the uterus is a tracking device.